This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. A look of guilt flashed across Si Deyuan's face. He said with slight anger, "This is a matter of life and death, how can it be a small matter? We've only lost one person so far, but if the situation is not controlled and allowed to spread, the harm will be difficult to estimate." Han Xian didn't have any good ideas at the moment. Under such circumstances, she could only play it by ear. If she wasn't careful, the Purple Cloud Chamber of Commerce would most likely fall here. Xian Rong, take a real blood stasis dispersing pill and this fake pill for the master to examine. With your abilities, you will definitely discover the subtleties and prove the Purple Cloud Trade Union's innocence. Yes. Jiang Qianrong took out a non-toxic pill and placed it beside the poisonous one. Her face was also full of worry. It wasn't easy for the president to come to Haitian town, and this situation had already happened. Si Deyuan's lazy gaze swept across the elixir. He grabbed one with each hand and held the fake elixir in his left hand. He poured a stream of pure soul power into it. His dispirited look was immediately swept away and he became full of energy. A surge of mental energy gushed out, forming a faint power around him, making it impossible for anyone around him to get close. Everyone watched nervously, especially the people of the Purple Cloud Trade Union. Their hands were covered in sweat. Yun Xiao looked over slightly and was stunned. Si Deyuan seemed to be putting on a show, but in fact, he was just putting on an act. It seemed that this man had long colluded with Yu Qingshuang. After a while, Si Deyuan stopped acting. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, "The ingredients of these two pills are exactly the same. There is no difference. They are both from the Purple Cloud Trade Union." What? This conclusion undoubtedly pushed the Purple Cloud Trade Union into the abyss. Han Xian could no longer remain calm and said in a deep voice, "Master, are you 100% confident?" Although she had already concluded that Si Deyuan and Yu Qingshuang were in cahoots, she still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. However, Si Deyuan's answer immediately shattered her fantasy. Of course. A hint of displeasure flashed across Si Deyuan's face. He seemed to be very angry that others doubted his strength. He snorted coldly and said, "If you don't believe my judgment, you can go to the Sea of Soul Formation and ask a 9th-tier great alchemist to come here." Han Xuan's face turned pale. With their abilities, how could they hire a 9th-tier great alchemist? Even if they did, it would take a long time, and the Tianyuan Chamber of Commerce would probably be defeated by their secret opponents. Since their opponents had such a vicious move, they must have a backup plan. She seemed to see a bloody mouth that was about to swallow her completely, but she knew nothing about it. "I didn't expect the Purple Cloud Trade Union to be such a despicable place. I want a refund." Immediately, someone shouted, which caused a chain reaction. Everyone demanded a refund, like a tide. Everyone in the Purple Cloud Trade Union turned pale and was at a loss. "Mr. President, what should we do?" Jiang Qianrong was so anxious that she almost cried. Han Xuan's face turned pale as she gritted her teeth and said, "I'll return everything you want. But I will prove the Purple Cloud Trade Union's innocence and find the real culprit." Innocence? You should pay for my brother's life first. Yu Qingshuang snorted coldly, a murderous look appeared on his face as he pounced forward. Elder Wu hurriedly tapped his walking stick and blocked the attack. Bang! The two of them exchanged a palm strike each. Yu Qingshuang's realm was not high enough, so he was forced to retreat. He shouted angrily, "Elder Wu, are you really going to help the evildoer?" It's still too early to say who's shying. Elder Wu had been in the Purple Cloud Chamber of Commerce for a long time and knew their style. They would never produce poisonous pills. He had also seen many cruel business wars between chambers of commerce. He knew that the Purple Cloud Chamber of Commerce had been framed this time, but it was impossible to clear the snow for the time being. Si Deyuan looked over and said in a serious voice, "Elder Wu, we've found out that the Purple Cloud Trade Union is selling poisonous pills. On behalf of the City Lord's mansion, I'm now sealing up this Chamber of Commerce for the City Lord to deal with. If you dare to make a move, it'll be a public protest against the City Lord's mansion. Elder Wu's expression changed drastically. If he publicly resisted the City Lord's mansion's accusation, he would not be able to survive in Haitian Town. There weren't any major forces in Haitian Town, and the City Lord, Liao Yangbing, was the strongest expert in the entire town. Si Deyuan's status was enough to speak on behalf of the City Lord's office. He hesitated for a while before finally laughing out loud. I've lived for more than 100 years, and I really don't care much about this little life. After so many years of fighting in the sea, he had thought that he was going to die a few times. He was almost alive. The Purple Cloud Chamber of Commerce has treated me with great kindness. Today, knowing that the Chamber of Commerce has been wronged, how can I disregard justice for my own life? The walking stick in his hand swept out and blocked Han Xian and the others. Si Deyuan's face twitched. He said angrily, since that's the case, I'll wait for the City Lord's mansion to deal with you. Go. With a furious shout, a figure immediately flashed over. He was extremely fast and struck out with a palm before Elder Wu could defend. Elder Wu was struck in the chest and was sent flying while spitting out blood. Arrest all the people of the Purple Cloud Trade Union, Si Deyuan said coldly. Lock them up in the dungeon and seal up the trade union. The figure accepted the order and immediately moved towards Han Xian to get rid of Elder Wu. These people were simply a motley crew. Good, good. Han Xian laughed in anger. I've prepared everything, but I don't know who's the mastermind behind this. I'm not convinced. She hurriedly pulled out her sword to defend herself, as if she was no match for the other party. The long sword in her hand was sent flying by the other party's finger. She could only watch helplessly as a sinister smile appeared on the cold face of the other party, and a big iron claw-like hand grabbed her neck. Han Xian was filled with grief and indignation. She couldn't bear to watch any longer, so she closed her eyes and waited for her death. But after a while, his neck was not attacked, and the surroundings seemed to have become a little quiet. She opened her eyes in shock and saw a familiar figure walking out of the crowd. He chuckled and said, after watching for so long, I thought I could lure out the person behind this. I didn't expect it to be a group of minions. Forget it, I'll deal with you minions first. After hitting the dog, the master will come out. You're bullying young Master Yun. Han Xian felt like she was in a trance. No, it must be my illusion. She lowered her head and rubbed her eyes with both hands. When she opened them again, she still had that delicate and pretty face, looking at her with a smile. Is it really you? Young Master Yun. She used her nails to pinch herself, and the pain became more and more painful. Then, she gradually believed it. She suddenly covered her mouth with her right hand and forced herself not to cry, but her eyes were still gradually red, and 2 lines of tears fell. What's going on? Go on, capture them all. Si Deyuan suddenly had a bad feeling. He quickly ordered, but the figure still did not move. Yunxiao stepped forward with a smile and gently pushed the man, who immediately fell to the ground with a bang. He had been dead for a while. You will never be able to order him. He's dead. How is this possible? Si Deyuan was greatly shocked. Yu Qingshuang's heart also trembled in disbelief. This expert was a 7 stars Marshal Supreme and was considered to be one of the top experts in Haitian Town. How could he be killed silently in front of so many eyes? They all felt their blood run cold, as if the god of death was approaching. You, who are you? How dare you obstruct the City Lord's office? Si Deyuan calmed down a little. Given his status, the other party would not dare to do anything. Everyone, be quiet. Yunxiao made a silencing gesture and said, the Purple Cloud Chamber of Commerce will never sell fake pills. The fake one is Si Deyuan. He's not an 8th-tier alchemist at all. He's just a charlatan. What? This piece of news was even more shocking than the fact that the Purple Cloud Trade Union was selling fake pills. Everyone stopped returning the goods and turned around to look. That's impossible, right? Master Si Deyuan has an 8th tier alchemist badge personally issued by the Sea of Soul Formation. That's right. The master has been famous in Haitian Town for a long time. How can it be fake? Who is this kid? You dare to speak so arrogantly, do you not want your life? Si Deyuan was stunned for a moment before he laughed out loud. His eyes were full of mockery as he said, I was wondering what you would say. How dare you question my alchemy qualifications? What a big joke. Han Xian no longer looked nervous and uneasy. With a faint smile on her lips, she looked like a beautiful fairy as she stood quietly and looked at Yun Xiao. Not only the incident in Lifire City, but also the world-famous battle in Red Moon City had filled her with absolute confidence in Yun Xiao. She only needed to watch quietly. With him around, everything would be fine. The Purple Cloud Trade Union could be saved now. I didn't expect to owe him another favor. How can I repay him? Jiang Qianrong was also quite surprised. This young man who didn't buy any suits actually knew the president, and it seemed like they had a good relationship. What made her even more confused was why the president was so relaxed after seeing this person. She was the closest to Han Xian, so she could feel that Han Xian was not pretending. That's right. Yun Xiao sneered. You're the biggest joke in Haitian Town. Today, not only am I going to expose you, but I'm also going to take you to the Sea of Soul Formation to receive the most severe punishment. Humph, impudent. I'm a genuine 8th tier alchemist. Si Deyuan said angrily. Do I still need to prove it to you? Yun Xiao laughed and said, I can say that I am a 9th tier alchemist. These 2 6th tier medicinal pills are obviously made of different ingredients. You can't even tell that, and you dare to call yourself an 8th tier alchemist? Then, don't you think that I am a 10th tier alchemist? What? Could Master Si Deyuan have made a wrong judgment? Everyone was shocked, disbelieving, and full of doubt. Si Deyuan said furiously, You're spouting nonsense. These 2 pills are exactly the same, this old man can guarantee it with my reputation. Yun Xiao smiled. You're a liar. You don't have any reputation. I'll expose you on the spot today. I'll demonstrate to everyone what's the difference between these 2 pills. Yun Xiao walked confidently to the counter where the pills were placed. He was the one who gave the recipe of the blood stasis dispersing pill to the Purple Cloud Chamber of Commerce, and the formula was very clear. Since it was not poisonous, there must be something different about it. Furthermore, even if these 2 pills were exactly the same, he could still change them. Han Xian, bring me 2 purple vessels. Give it to him now. Han Xian immediately ordered. Jiang Qianrong immediately found 2 high-quality purple containers and placed them on the counter. Yun Xiao put the 2 pills in front of the crowd, then began to search the shop. Soon, he found a large number of various materials, then took out a glass vessel and put it in it, burning it lightly with fire and began to melt it. What are they doing? Is this kid also an alchemist? Yes, that's possible. Didn't he say that he was going to expose Master Si Deyuan? If I don't have some skills, how can I expose him? It's true that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. I guess this young man is at most at the peak of the 2nd rank. I'm afraid he didn't see Master's technique, so he thought Master was a liar. Si Deyuan watched his actions coldly. It was not until Yun Xiao shook the materials into the air with his soul power and injected them with various incantations to condense them that his face began to turn serious, and his face was filled with shock. As Yun Xiao cast one incantation gesture after another, his skillful technique and beautiful figure made everyone shut up. They had more or less seen alchemists refining, but no one had ever made it so ornamental. It was no longer a pure refining, but an art. Si Deyuan's expression grew more and more solemn. With his eyes, he could naturally tell that Yun Xiao's refining technique was not an ordinary one, but one that had been accumulated over countless years. It was as strong as 1,000 hammers strike. Whoosh! As the last spell was cast, the materials in the air were refined into a colorless and odorless transparent liquid, just like ordinary water. This solution is a decomposition solution, which can gradually decompose the formed pills, Yunxiao said. It is a general item used to study the structure of materials. In order to explain it to you in detail, I'll explain clearly what the difference between these two pills is in a way that you can understand. In fact, he didn't know what the difference between the two pills was, but he wasn't worried. As he went deeper, he would easily find the problem. Even Si Deyuan might have noticed it, but he didn't say anything. Who is this young man? His technique just now was so beautiful. He's definitely not an ordinary alchemist.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with alchemists for many years, but I've never seen such a beautiful scene. Could it be that was telling the truth? Master Si Deyuan is really embarrassed. The sound was getting softer and softer, but the shop was only so big, so how could Si Deyuan not hear it? His face grew colder and colder as he stared at the two purple containers. As the colorless liquid was poured in, the pills in the two vessels began to melt. However, it was not an ordinary melting, but a reverse decomposition. In order to let everyone see clearly, I will control the reverse decomposition process of these two pills. In the world of alchemy, there is no absolute reverse decomposition, only a relative reverse decomposition. Yunxiao took out the mirror of evening clouds, which transformed into a mirror image in the air. A beam of light shone down and reflected the scene in the two vessels onto a wall, making it hundreds of times larger. The whole process also became slow under the light of the mirror. It's actually so magical? Many people felt that it was an eye-opening experience, while Si Deyuan, Yu Qingshuang, and the others' faces became uglier and uglier. Especially Si Deyuan. With his cultivation base as an 8th-tier alchemist, he could naturally find that the mirror contained a very strong power, far beyond the recognition of his soul power. So, what did this mean? A mystic artifact that even an 8th-tier alchemist could not recognize could only be a 9th-tier mystic artifact. Who was this young man? He actually had a 9th-tier profound armament. At this moment, Si Deyuan could no longer remain calm. Cold sweat began to ooze out of his forehead. He found that the reverse decomposition method Yunxiao had just performed was beyond his understanding, both in terms of principle and technique. How was this possible? I'm an 8th-tier alchemist. I can't understand this young man's technique? A nonsensical feeling spread in his heart. He only felt that everything in front of him was not real. It was too absurd. This is the teeth-tearing grass, this is the hairy leaf wing, and this is the llama grass orchid. The light screen on the wall began to slowly separate some substances. Yunxiao pointed at them and began to explain, the llama grass orchid's effect is to gather qi and restore blood, and it's one of the main ingredients of the blood stasis dispersing pill. Moreover, it must be a llama grass orchid that's more than 100 years old. Only in this way can the spirit qi contained in it allow a martial artist in the 6 directions realm to fully recover, and at the 7 constellations realm, it can recover at least a third or more. In other words, the age of the llama grass orchid basically determined the quality of this blood stasis dispersing pill. When choosing the pill, you can pay special attention. If there are more of these fine purple lines in the pill, it proves that the llama grass orchid is older, and the more effective it is. Many people took out the blood stasis dispersing pills they had bought and began to check them carefully. Sure enough, they found that the purple lines were different in shape and color. Jiang Qianrong was completely dumbfounded. She had been a shopkeeper for so many years and had come into contact with tens of thousands of blood stasis dispersing pills, but she had never known that there were so many great things. Han Xian had a smile on her face as she looked on and listened with satisfaction. Her mood that had fallen into the abyss just now had become extremely blissful. She really wanted to make a pot of good tea and slowly taste it. Then what's with the uneven ravines on the ground? Some attentive people started to ask. This is the effect of the other main material, Yunxiao said with a smile. Everyone, quickly look, this thing is about to be decomposed. He stretched out his hand and pointed. On the projection on the wall, as the blood stasis dispersing pill became smaller and smaller, some hair-thin things began to slowly float out of the pill and spread out. More and more of them appeared, like willow catkins flying in the air. This thing is called dried mountain baby, and it's another main ingredient. Its function is to purify vital qi and eliminate all kinds of abnormal energy, so no matter what kind of energy is in your body, taking a blood stasis dispersing pill can resolve most of it. I see. It actually has such a function. We didn't even know about it. Everyone sighed with emotion. That's not the only effect, Yunxiao said with a smile. You've spent the same amount of money to supplement two things, but you're not satisfied. Instead, he listened to the rumors of swindlers who could not tell right from wrong. The decomposition of the two pills is almost complete. I think the key point will soon be revealed. Si Deyuan's face was so dark that water was about to drip out of it. At the same time, his heart was as heavy as lead. The foundation of the art of Tao displayed by Yunxiao was not inferior to his. And the person in front of him was so young. With his eyes, he could naturally tell Yunxiao's true age, and it was absolutely true. Heavens, he's not even 20 years old, but his cultivation in the art of divination is at least at the 8th level. He only felt more and more cold sweat on his body. This young man was already terrifying enough. Only the heavens knew what kind of power was behind him. Could he be a peerless genius specially cultivated by the sea of soul formation? Why would he help the Purple Cloud Trade Union? At the thought of this, Si Deyuan could no longer relax. He began to have a bad feeling in his heart and even regretted getting involved. The situation, which was originally in the bag and had no chance of changing, seemed to be tilting. Yunxiao's eyes gradually turned serious. At that moment, a stone-like object suddenly emerged from the core. A bright light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "It's here." He cast a spell into the sunset cloud mirror, and the mirror light suddenly became stronger, stopping the disintegration process. Yunxiao slammed his palm on the table, and two gray objects immediately shook out of the vessel and fell into his left and right hands. Si Deyuan's heart skipped a beat as well. He became nervous. He did not find any difference between the two pills. So, even though Yunxiao had shown that his achievements in alchemy were not weaker than his, and although his heart was heavy, at least he did not panic. But now, he was indeed a little confused, because the other party would never shoot without thinking. Yunxiao held the two items in his hand and showed them to the crowd as he said with a smile, "Are there any alchemists here? Would you like to come out and do an appraisal?" Everyone looked at each other. Finally, a man volunteered and said, "I'm a third-tier alchemist, do you need my help, my lord?" Yunxiao's demonstration and explanation of the whole process had completely convinced him, and his tone was full of respect. Yunxiao extended both hands in front of him and said, "Take a look and see what these two items are." The third-tier alchemist stared at it carefully, sniffing it from time to time, and not forgetting to pour his soul power into it to check. In the end, he said with great certainty, "This is the solid form of the solution of the core of the Ziying seahorse. The other one is the same." Yunxiao smiled and raised his hands in front of Si Deyuan as he said with a chuckle, "Master, what do you think?" The word Grandmaster was emphasized heavily and was full of sarcasm. For some reason, everyone began to believe in Yunxiao. Although they could not say that Si Deyuan was a liar, they chose to believe Yunxiao's words emotionally. Si Deyuan's expression was gloomy. He looked at the two items and snorted. "It's all the residue of the Ziying seahorse's inner core. I can tell at a glance." Yunxiao smiled, which gave Si Deyuan an extremely bad feeling. "Han Xian, do you know what the problem is now?" Yunxiao did not analyze anything, but asked Han Xian directly, which stunned everyone. "What?" Han Xian came back to her senses and blushed. "You're asking me?" She pondered for a while, then her eyes suddenly lit up and she said excitedly, "I understand.